It's time for John Coggeshall and pardon me for all seeking pardons, parole, clemency, inmates deserving who could be serving too much time for what they did. It's time for John Coggeshall and pardon me for all seeking mercy, a chance to be free. We'll be learning.
Hi everybody, John Coggeshall here. Everybody calls me Cog. And this is my Cogcast. And today we're going to learn about a deserving pardon petitioner named Travis May. And I'd like to read to you his letter to the governor, to whom it may concern. My name is Travis May. I write you with sincere respect and appreciation for your time and consideration for my request for conditional or partial pardon. I'm fighting for my life and my future. My family and I would be indebted to you for any assistance or guidance you can bestow upon this situation at hand. In the months leading up to my 17th birthday and shortly thereafter, I made choices that would affect my community, the lives of others, and myself in ways I could never have imagined. How did my life's journey at such a young age take such a drastic turn? Let's go back to when it all started, my early childhood. I was raised in a home with a mother who constantly used heroin. In order to feed her addiction, she would often steal and engage in numerous relationships. My father at the time was incarcerated before I was born for armed robberies. When I was 7 years old, the state felt that the home was unsafe for me and my needs could be better met living with my paternal and maternal grandmothers. My two grandmothers supplied me with a loving home, structure, guidance, faith, and respect. Being stripped away from my mother and being placed from one grandmother and then to the next caused me to miss school and my grades suffered. This continued until my father was released from prison. 4 years later, my father worked, pursued an education, got a good job, married, and purchased a home. My grandmothers thought it best if my father raised me. I was hopeful that everything would change for the better. Having the structure with my father would have been good for me. I thought his rules at the time were kind of strict in contrast to my grandmother's upbringing. I wanted to make him proud. As time passed, we started to have problems. I guess could have seen that coming because I wanted the freedom that I'd grown accustomed to living with my grandmothers. My father kept telling me he was being strict because he did not want me to see the inside of prison walls like he had. I thought life was more fun when I stayed with my grandmothers, so at 14 I ran away to my grandmother's house and begged her to take me back. I claimed I was miserable with my father. She finally gave in to all my crying and whining and complaining. My father did not fight her custody claim. He just said, "If that's where you want to be, then so be it." I thought this was beneficial to me at the time because it would allow me to have more freedom with my friends. Upon entering high school, I started skipping school and church while using and selling drugs, primarily marijuana. During this period in my life, I began to be interested in the glamour and excitement of the street life. This started to take hold of me because I did not have any true male role models to identify with except those I saw on television and the movies. I started to identify more with the males within my neighborhood. These individuals seemed to have the best things in life. Even the music I listened to validated this belief. Once I implanted myself with these individuals, they accepted me with open arms. This became my new reality. Life became more about the next dollar, the street life, Interestingly, this started to create feelings of hopelessness within me. I started to skip school. I distanced myself from my family and childhood friends while using things like alcohol and marijuana. I started to believe that I could come and go as I pleased. I thought that was freedom. Well, this feeling, yet, even though with all that, I could not figure out why I felt so numb and lost. So I just ignored it. This feeling only festered and grew into something larger that I couldn't even control. This first became evident when I received the news that my close friend, we'll call him Mr. Brown, was shot and killed during a robbery. Mr. Brown was the one individual who first accepted me in the street life. But this shook me to the core. Instead of being awakened by this experience, it just solidified my feelings of hopelessness, which then fed my feelings of recklessness and doing things that were frankly dangerous. I believed my friend's fate would inevitably be my fate. So I continued to lose myself in chasing more money, hoping to fill this very strange void. My young mind at the time felt that in order to achieve more money, I needed a gun. I would often ask my friend to let me carry his weapon when we were together, and this became habitual. I started to hear rumors that guys that were once selling drugs are now robbing neighborhood stores and making a bigger and faster profit. This enticed me even more to follow their lead. But before I could plan or commit my first robbery, I was arrested for illegally possessing a weapon. I pled guilty, but was allowed to remain on bond until sentencing. My father argued to leave me in juvenile detention to face my consequences. But against his better judgment, my grandmother has bailed me out. Looking back now, if I had remained in the juvenile hall, I may not be in this predicament today. Knowing that I was coming to prison anyway made it easier for me to be even more reckless because it wouldn't change my fate. The first week I was out on detention, I met up with my co-defendants to plan our first robbery. One of the co-defendants who worked at a local McDonald's suggested we rob his workplace because he knew that a lot of money was stored in the safe on a particular day. We made arrangements surrounding information he gave us, along with the roles we would play. On the day in question, we waited until the restaurant was about to close. Only employees were present at this time. My co-defendant rushed in with a weapon and yelled for everyone to get on the ground. I then entered with my main focus to find the manager and place the money in the book bag I had. Afterwards, we ran and fled to a vehicle parked down the street. This pattern continued for the next few months. With each successful robbery, it gave us the confidence to take greater risks. Never once did I consider that my actions would hurt anyone. No one was getting physically hurt, so my conscience was clear. This justification to my conscience was shattered when my co-defendant shot a worker in the back of the shoulder for refusing to get down. This crime spree came to an abrupt end when I was arrested on May 28, 1994, for 4 armed robberies, 2 attempted robberies, 1 count of malicious wounding, and 7 uses of a firearm while in commission of felonies. That was in Virginia Beach, along with 1 robbery charge in Norfolk. In exchange for a plea, the Commonwealth agreed to limit my sentence to a term of years and not pursue a life sentence. On February 27, 1995, the judge accepted my plea agreement and listened to arguments from my lawyer in the Commonwealth about specific sentencing length. My lawyer argued for a 33-year sentence primarily noting my young age, the potential to change, family support, and some laws that were in my favor dealing with criminal juveniles. The Commonwealth's attorney, however, argued for a 75-year sentence due to the serious nature of the offenses. The judge agreed that there was validity to both arguments, but chose to sentence me to 153 years without the chance of parole. After my hearing, I was transferred to the city of Norfolk to face my sentencing there. That gave me almost another 10 years. So my total sentence when I left for adult prison was 165 years without the possibility of parole, also known as a life sentence. My bad choices and mistakes continued once I came to prison. I surrounded myself with the same type of people as I did on the streets, all the while hoping, but not believing, that the lawyer would make it right. Well, in 1999, around 2000, my habeas corpus petition was granted by the Virginia Supreme Court on a Baker claim, essentially that my parents had not been notified that I had been transferred from juvenile court to adult court. My family hired an attorney, and he assured us that the worst case scenario would be time served. My father made many trips to the prison to help me make plans for employment, education, and further my goals in life. I could come up with nothing realistic, and this revealed to my father that the only thing that changed in me was my age. I started to read more and signed up for more programs and trades. During this time, I studied hard and eventually got my GED. Many people were going home based on this same Baker claim that my hopes were set on. I was sure it was only a matter of time before I was released. And then the day came, I was called to pick up my legal mail. I was very excited, thinking my court date and inevitable release were within reach. But instead, this is what the letter said. Travis, I'm sorry to inform you that the Supreme Court has re-ruled on the previous decision of the Baker claim. And instead of anyone being able to bring this claim up at any time in court, if you didn't object to this in court when it occurred, then even though it happened, it is deemed cured by time, so you won't be able to get the relief they first ruled you could. This is not right, but unfortunately, there is nothing else that can be done in your case. Please take care of yourself and good luck. If you have any questions, call. All of my hope and anticipation drained when I read those words. Nothing can be done in your case. I kept reading that line over and over, hoping that it would change. Those same feelings of despair I had when I was a teenager, they all came back. This was my death sentence. I'm going to die in prison without ever experiencing freedom again. This is when I began contemplating my escape. Unfortunately, my great prison escape had failed, and I was left in a dark, empty cell, tending to my gashes, subdued from the barbed wire. How did I come to this place? I not only ruined any chances of freedom, but destroyed any chances of building a strong, lasting relationship with my family. In my darkest moment of weakness, my family did not abandon me. Instead, they embraced me even more. I realized in my darkest moment, I was not alone. I had the grace and mercy of God with a loving, supportive family. I had a clearer perception of myself. I had been a young and fearful boy. I finally came to the realization that I had a choice whether to live, mature, and take ownership of the mistakes I had made in the past, or continue to create pain for others and myself while identifying myself as the victim. Well, I chose the former. I pled guilty to the new charges I committed while attempting to escape. I was sentenced to an additional 15 years for the attempted escape and assault on an officer. I was transferred from a medium security state prison to a supermax prison called Red Onion. I spent the first 5 years in segregation and 4.5 years in general population. But during that time, I stripped myself clean. Everything I thought I knew about life, I let it go. I wanted to live life with strength and purpose by following God's will. I made a promise that I would no longer feel sorry for myself and accepted the fact that I may live the rest of my life in prison. A true transformation of strength, intelligence, faith, and hope started to uproot and replace all negativity and selfishness that I had. As I embraced my new perspective and began to apply it daily, it became my primary nature. I could have died on the street from my ignorant and distorted perception of what was really valuable, as my friend had, Mr. Brown. I am thankful to God that my reckless behavior did not lead anyone to losing their life. Instead, 22 years later, I found love for God, myself, my life, my family, and my friends. I've not lost my hope to one day be free, but I no longer allow my sentence to consume my life or impede my growth. I became a facilitator, a tutor, and an aide for many prison educational programs. I learned how to give guidance, especially to those seeking to change. I have supplied assistance to the restructuring program entitled Thinking for a Change since 2010. During this time, I have demonstrated a working knowledge on the material while supplying a genuine enthusiasm for the subject matter. In order to be selected as a program group facilitator, one must demonstrate the following skills: empathy, facilitation, teaching techniques, and enthusiasm for the subject matter. Thinking for a Change is a cognitive program approved by the National Institute of Corrections. It supplies three main components to include self-change, social skills, and problem solving. In this class, I provide a unique perspective relating to all the material from an offender's point of view, which allows them to identify even further with the principles covered. To my surprise, I found joy and strength in helping others. Despite my interest, I often would not be admitted into programs because of the length of my sentence, since resources were going to inmates with shorter sentences. But instead of giving way to my old ways of thinking, I remained focused. I was eventually accepted into a vocational trade and received my certification in custodial maintenance. I graduated top of my class. Most recently, I was accepted in the Washington and Lee University College program. Out of 13 inmates, only 4 were selected. And in this program, I was chosen. I also completed the program with a 4.0 G.P.A. My father recently agreed to pay for some classes at Adams State University distance learning program, and I may earn a certification in nutrition, which will assist me with my plans on becoming a personal trainer and owning my own gym. My family currently owns 3 businesses. After reading my business plan, they offer to convert one of their facilities into a gym to help me realize my goal. Now we have arrived at my most recent request to you. I refer to your expertise. I am hoping for a chance to one day earn my freedom again, rejoin my family, and be of value to society. I truly and sincerely appreciate the time you have allowed me to share my story. Whenever possible, I welcome feedback or guidance that you can give me or my family. I thank you for being a champion for those who have made mistakes and bad choices in their youth, for those who finally woken up to the beauty of living and creating a chance for a meaningful life. Please have a blessed day. Respectfully, Travis May. I'd like to tell you some facts about the case of Travis May. He was sentenced at the age of 17 to 165 years without the possibility of parole for committing a series of robberies with a group of older men. Travis was raised in a home with a mother who, at one time, constantly used heroin. His father was incarcerated for armed robbery before Travis was ever born. When Travis was 7, the state granted custody of Travis to his maternal grandmothers. During high school, Travis started to identify more with real street thugs from his neighborhood. Street life became his new reality. He started to skip school, and he distanced himself from his family and genuine childhood friends, all the while using illegal substances such as alcohol and marijuana. News of his best friend being killed during a robbery when he was 17 shook Travis to the core. But instead of being awakened by it, it solidified his feelings of hopelessness, which fed thoughts of recklessness. At the age of 17, Travis was arrested for illegally possessing a gun. He pled guilty, but he was allowed to remain on bond until sentencing. His grandmothers bailed him out. The very first week he was out of detention, he met up with co-defendants to plan their first robbery. This pattern continued for the next few months. With each successful robbery, they gained greater confidence and took greater risks. Travis believed that as long as no one was physically hurt, that his conscience was clear. This mindset was shattered when one co-defendant shot a worker in the shoulder for refusing to get on the floor. The crime spree came to an abrupt end when Travis was arrested on May 28, 1994, for armed robberies, attempted robberies, malicious wounding, and 7 counts of firearms while commission of felonies in Virginia Beach, plus 1 robbery charge in Norfolk. Eventually, he was sentenced to 165 years in prison with no chance of parole. But during that time, Travis became a facilitator of the Thinking for a Change program. And in 2010, he graduated at the top of his class in a custodial maintenance program. He enrolled in university classes hoping to earn a degree in nutrition. Out of 1,300 inmates, only 4 were selected to attend this program, and Travis was one of the 4, earning a 4.0 G.P.A. And you know what happened? On January 12th, 2018, let me show you something. January 12th, 2018, my client, Travis May, was pardoned by then Governor McAuliffe. One of the proudest days of my life for my law practice, and I'm sure one of the proudest days for Travis May. Since that time, he's gone to help people, just like he said he was going to teach troubled youth the right path to take. And everyone who knows Travis, everyone who's worked with him since he got out, think he's just the cat's pajamas. Congratulations to you, Travis May, for doing what you said you were going to do, changing your life and becoming a new man and a genuine contributor to society. Well, folks, that's about it for today. Thanks for joining me and listening to the story of Travis May. We'll see you again real soon. Until that time, I'm John Coggeshall. Everybody calls me Cog. This is my Cogcast, and we'll see you next time. Thumbs up and hang loose.